Vapor face! What's up, Vape fam? Sorteal, Vaporworks Lab, Flavor House feature episode 3. Vaping on an RDA for vaping on top of this black and red speckled Dreamer 1.5. I was watching a live stream that Beecher was doing where he was talking a little bit about the version 2 of an RDA for vaping. Not really giving away too much, but just saying what was going to be corrected. But he also said that the version 1 soon will not be in production. So if you want one, go get one, because this is, to me at least, tied with the Asgard Mini for best dual coil RDA that has ever been released. This thing is amazing. Cannot wait for version 2. But if you don't have V1, go get it. Go get it now, because it's not going to be in production here pretty soon. But an RDA for vaping is not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is Purilum. Now, Purilum is one of those smaller flavor houses like Jungle Flavors and Flavors Express that they don't have a huge selection of flavors like Capella or TFA or Flavor West. But what they do have is pretty much nothing but good flavors. I have tried, I think, almost every Purilum flavor that's out there that is at least water soluble. And I have not run into a bad one. And they actually have quite a few that are irreplaceable. There's just not really a good alternative to the flavors that they have, one of which is country apple. Now, if you ever watch DIY or Die and listen to Wayne talk about apple flavors, which I think are one of his favorite flavors along with strawberry, he always brings up country apple, and for good fucking reason, because there's really nothing else out there that is quite as good as country apple. If you need a cooked apple, Purilum's country apple is the one to go for. If you're doing an apple pie and you're already using, say, Flavora's apple filling, which is an amazing flavor, add some country apple to it as well. It will give you those cooked apple chunks instead of just kind of the mashed up apple filling of like a McDonald's pie, the way that Flavora's apple filling kind of tastes like. It just enhances it even more. Or if you need a cooked apple for anything, maybe you want to do cooked cinnamon apples, country apple is the flavor to go for. Now, it's not their only good flavor by any stretch of the imagination, or their only irreplaceable flavor. They also have cranberry blood orange, which is one of my favorite flavors of theirs. It is just amazing. It really tastes like blood orange and cranberry mixed together. There's no real bite to it. It's very sweet. It's one of the best just straight kind of blood orange flavors out there, but you get that extra tartness of cranberry. This stuff works great if you want to do, say, a wine recipe. Maybe you want to do a blood orange champagne. This works phenomenal for that. Or if you want to add it into a lemonade, which is generally where I use it, and it works just outstanding. Another one that they have that I have not really found any kind of replacement for, and it really reminds me a lot of a Vape Train flavor, just slightly different, and that's Fizzy Strawberry. Now, if you've had Fizzy Sherbet from Vape Train, they're not the same, because Fizzy Sherbet is kind of like pixie sticks. It's like a lemon lime pixie stick, basically. This is more like a strawberry drink, not necessarily a soda, but it is trying to mimic some type of fizziness or effervescence. It doesn't really pull it off because it's just impossible, I think, to do effervescence in a vape, but it gets pretty close. It at least kind of tricks your mind. It works great in lemonades. This flavor actually works great as just a single flavor. Add a little bit of sweetener to it and you're gonna have a good vape. But you can add it to other flavors. You can add it to lemonades. I've not tried it in like a champagne or anything like that to do kind of a strawberry champagne of some type, but I'm sure it would work outstanding for that. but generally I use it as a lemonade enhancer. If I want to do a strawberry lemonade, this kind of gives me almost a carbonated strawberry lemonade. It works fantastic. All right. If you're looking for a tart raspberry, now there's a ton of good raspberry flavors out there, but if you're looking for kind of a candied tart raspberry, there is no better option than Purilum's sour raspberry candy. This stuff works great if you want to add it to, say, a blue raspberry lemonade, or if you're doing a blue raspberry candy and you want to add a little bit more of the raspberry flavor to it and tarten it up. This stuff works outstanding. It also pairs extremely well with, I believe it's Wonder Flavors sour ball candy to kind of just increase that tartness, and it kind of rounds it out, makes that whole candy edge to it shine through even more. But this is honestly one of my favorite raspberry flavors out there, unless I'm going for really, really authentic raspberry. And my favorite for that we'll talk about in the next episode. But overall, for a raspberry candy, I don't think that there's another flavor out there that really competes with this at all. This is pretty much the best raspberry candy out there. Recently, I've been wanting to create a butter pecan vape. I really dig ice cream vapes, and I think I've got, vanilla ice cream pretty much where I want it, where I like it. Same with strawberry and chocolate, but I really wanted to do butter pecan. And as I tried different flavors, kind of combining with ice cream flavors, nothing really worked perfect. It would almost taste just like the ice cream was separate from the butter pecans. But Purilum's butter pecan praline ice cream solved all that. This is almost essential if you want to do a butter pecan ice cream, just a straight butter pecan ice cream, or you can do whatever else you want to it. It pairs really well with butterscotch ripple, so you kind of get that butterscotch drizzle on it as well. But overall, the butter pecan flavor in it is just outstanding. The ice cream element to it is great. I don't really get a whole lot of the praline element to it. But overall, for a butter pecan ice cream, this is probably the best one out there. And it kind of works at a wide range of percentage. You can pump this one up if you wanted to do it just single flavor and it works, or you can kind of dial it back, maybe add another butter pecan to it if you want to get your ice cream to be pumped up even more, or add another ice cream to it. It just works at a wide range of percentages. Now, I say that, but if you take this too low, it almost disappears. I will say, if you're going to use this, you want to use it over 1%. Anything below 1%, it's not really going to come through all that well. You'll get a little bit of that butter pecan taste, but the ice cream is really not there at all until you push it up above 1%. All right. Now, if you're familiar, I think I've talked about this before, but if you're familiar with the Cheesecake Trinity, which is 3% Inaware Yes Sweet Cheesecake, 2% Capella's New York Cheesecake, and I believe 1% TFA's Cheesecake Graham Crust. There's a newer version of it that I think is way better if you're doing any type of cheesecake. And it replaces Capella's New York Cheesecake with Purilum's New York Cheesecake, which is so much better. To me, Capella's New York Cheesecake tends to muddy up just about anything you throw it in. The density that they try to kind of come across with Capella's New York Cheesecake tends to ruin a lot of recipes that you stick it in. I'm not a huge fan of it at all. I never used it. Like, I didn't use the Cheesecake Trinity until the new version of it came around. Basically because I felt like Capella's New York Cheesecake ruined the whole mix. It just kind of muddied it up. I would have much rather taken it out and then added something like maybe Capella's sweet yogurt, or something similar, maybe another cheesecake. But then once I discovered Purilum's New York Cheesecake, it was an easy swap. And anytime I need that kind of dense, almost, I don't know, I won't say toasted necessarily, but that kind of denser cheesecake flavor, that New York cheesecake flavor, Purilum's is the only one that I will reach for anymore. As far as the newer Cheesecake Trinity, it's 3% Inaware Yes Sweet Cheesecake, 2% Purilum New York Cheesecake, and 1% Jungle Flavors Cheesecake Graham Crust. We talked about sour raspberry candy, and I mentioned that if you wanted a more authentic raspberry, there was one I liked better, and we would talk about it next episode. But if you're going for more of just a straight artificial raspberry, so think the raspberry that's in, say, a raspberry lemonade mix or raspberry Kool-Aid, something along those lines, then Purilum's raspberry is the one that I always go for. It works at a wide range of percentages. You can use it lower and it still shines through, especially if there's another raspberry. You can mix it with the sour raspberry candy and just pump that raspberry note up even more. It can be pushed towards a candy if you really want to go that way, or I wouldn't say you could push it too much in the direction of authentic. You could try using a lemon or lime to kind of push it that way. It works great with other berries, so if you want to mix it with a boysenberry, want to mix it with blueberry, blackberry, it works great, as long as you're kind of staying in that artificial flavor range. All right, this was one when I was trying to come up with my recipe. It's called Third Wheel. It's basically like the Girl Scout tag-along cookie. Basically a recipe that kind of mimics that. I did not know about this flavor, and after the fact, now whenever I make that, I actually use this in place of some of the stuff that I did in that recipe. I just have not released an updated version of it, but that one is Purilum's chocolate peanut butter. This is basically a Reese's peanut butter cup, almost exactly. The peanut butter note in it is extremely good. The chocolate note in it is good. It does have a little bit of that cocoa powder note, so I would say if you're going to use this, you probably want to throw in another chocolate, say Effie's milk chocolate or Jungle Flavors milk chocolate, and they will kind of get rid of that. It's really a minor cocoa powder note that this has, but overall this is an outstanding flavor if you want like a chocolate peanut butter cup. All right, we talked about the butter pecan praline ice cream and how outstanding I think that flavor is. Really, it's irreplaceable if you want to do butter pecan ice cream. But what about just straight butter pecan if you want to add it to, say, some type of dessert you're doing, or if you're really just going for a straight butter pecan pie? Well, Purilum has a straight butter pecan, and it's probably my favorite straight butter pecan out there. Now, as far as a butter pecan pie flavor, there's a couple I like better, and this is not really pie, it's just straight up butter pecan. So if you need it to enhance a butter pecan pie, or you just want that butter pecan flavor in another, say, dessert recipe that you're going to do, Purilum's is really probably your best bet on just straight butter pecan. They have a ton of other good flavor. Well, I won't say a ton because they're kind of like Jungle Flavors, where they have maybe 40-50 flavors as far as water soluble flavors that are suited for vaping. I'm not sure if they have others, but I'm pretty sure they do, because they also do like cartomizer filling. So CBD and all that kind of stuff with the cartridges, they do that filling. Actually, if you go look at their website, it has automated bottling and cartomizer filling. So they do a lot of that. Also, Purilum definitely gets a thumbs up from me because they are not afraid to embrace e-liquid and the vaping community. As you can see, they have a whole option for e-liquid formulation, which is extremely cool because a lot of flavor companies have shied away from any type of association with vaping, or they've outright come out and said they do not want their flavorings used in the production of e-liquids. Loran is a big one that comes to mind. I believe One on One has said something similar, maybe not as harsh as Loran's, but they've said something similar to the effect of they don't really want their flavorings used in e-liquid. But Purilum is more like Wonder Flavors, Vape Train, and VSO, where they're very much embracing the vaping community, and that's always extremely cool to see. All right, so overall, Purilum is just an outstanding company. They embrace the vaping community overall. They're more similar to Wonder Flavors, VSO, and Vape Train in that regard. They're not afraid to say, hey, our flavorings are kind of intended to use for vaping. They're also heavily involved in CBD cartridge filling, which is extremely cool to me as well. They also have just a ton of flavors that are irreplaceable. There's really no better option for some of their flavorings. The Fizzy Strawberry is a good example of that. Country Apple is the best example of that because there's no better cooked apple out there. So if you like apple flavors, you like apple desserts, apple pies, even like say an apple cake or an apple cobbler, Country Apple is the one to use every single time. To me, it is the best apple flavor out there, hands down. There's really nothing that comes close to Country Apple. Also, their butter pecan praline ice cream, if you're going to do butter pecan ice cream, in my opinion, it's not going to be as good unless you have Purilum's flavoring in there. Their straight butter pecan is extremely good. They have a boysenberry preserve. I actually ran out of it, so I couldn't show you guys, but it is just amazing. If you want that kind of boysenberry preserve, boysenberry jam type of flavor to something, I use it with a cookie. I do a boysenberry jam cookie, and it works amazing. That recipe would not work with any other flavor combo. It would change it too much. Even if I wanted to use some type of really good boysenberry and then maybe use something like boysenberry raspberry to kind of jam syrup it up, or wanted to use something like Vape Train's Jam It to turn it into a jam, it would not work anywhere near as good as Purilum's boysenberry preserve. And that's kind of how I look at Purilum, is they have actually most of their flavors are kind of irreplaceable. So definitely go check them out. Pick up some of their flavors. I'm going to use a different mod here. This is the profile on top of the top side light. Vape on, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.